the events, watching these people stumble all over themselves trying to explain Islamic terrorism used to be kind of funny. It ain't funny anymore. Because now the mayor of London, who is himself a Muslim, is telling Americans, hey, get used to it. This is the new norm. Just be ready, keep your eyes open. You see something, call the police, but expect an explosion or two a week, and it's part of being a multicultural country. It's part of being a welcoming country. My comments on it are unimportant, or not as important as our guest. Robert Caltabiano is an expert in security and in foreign security, domestic security, etc. He has been with the U.S. Secret Service. He spent 25 years there, not protecting the president, but working in other areas, in supervisory roles. He's experienced in the New York City Department of Investigation, which is called the DOI, and the U.S. DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration. He has an active secret clearance. His leadership in secret activities and in foreign relations is absolutely unquestionable. He joins us now, and Robert, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm well. I didn't have time to read your whole resume. I would have liked to, but I only have an hour. And it's a very impressive resume. And
well, you're too kind.
And we thank you very much for your service to the country. What are these people up to that they cannot seem to grasp the gravity of the war against radical Islamic terrorism?
I think what we want to look at is what the terrorists are up to is plain and simple, to invoke fear. And, in the word terrorist, and to invoke terror. And I think one of the things we want to look at is anybody that commits a heinous act, an act of violence, in my opinion, that's terrorism. That's terrorism in its pure form, whether it's overseas or whether it's here homegrown. And so we must look at it in a different way. And we have to start getting involved as American citizens again.
How best do we do that?
I think one is to raise our level of awareness. One of the things that we can do, look at it this way. If we become afraid, they win, we lose, plain and simple. That's what they want. They want us to pack up and just go back, hide someplace. And so we have to, as Roosevelt said, there's nothing to fear but fear itself, is really tackle what these people want. We are the freedom of the world. We're the only country that I know of, that I learned from President Reagan, that has the word happiness invoked in its papers. And with that is the pursuit of freedom, the pursuit of happiness. And these people, want to take it away, whether you're from the United States or whether you're from overseas. And we can't allow that to happen.
We're talking with corporate security executive Robert Caltabiano about the events over the weekend. This inability of our people to identify the enemy for who they are, what they are, is that holding us back at all, or should we just simply let them play their games and go on about our business?
I think we hold ourselves back sometimes. What I mean by that is look at what has transpired in the last few days. Our law enforcement process, it works. We're doing better now than we were 15 years ago. And every day we can get better. Every day we are getting better. But we're only as good as our citizens, as the people here. I look at government. Government is only as good as we, the people. And when we look the other way, when we're not getting involved, then that's what happens with government. And I think it's time that we change that again.
This guy who did the bombing and was subsequently captured after the shootout, if we look at his record, frequent, lengthy trips back home to Afghanistan, a deadbeat dad, a guy who spoke frequently about not liking America. Now, ordinarily, that would be enough for me to say, if I were in law enforcement, hey, here's a guy we ought to at least take an interest in. But then I would be accused of profiling. I remember when I had guests on the air. One of my friends in Florida was an FBI profiler. We weren't afraid to use that word then. Why can't we use it now?
I think because we've allowed it through the course of time to be, I think what we really want to call it politically correct. The number one responsibility of government is to protect its citizens, but also the number one responsibility of our citizens is to protect ourselves. And so we can also, your listeners out there can really, really help by doing what? By opening up our eyes again, by coming back to the America, as what I learned, is what President Reagan said, the shining city on a hill. And how do we do that? By changing the way that we see things again. And if you see something, if you think it smells, it probably does. But what happens now is that we're going on in our own life, and time passes us by, and things like this slip. You got to remember, law enforcement, they try to be correct 100% of the time. They got to get it right 100% of the time. And those thugs, this thug here, didn't have to.
He only had to get it right once.
Yeah, and what we really see here is somebody that probably was not very smart. Just the way that he rudimentarily put this device together, but he doesn't care. You don't have to be smart, but we need to be smart. We need to re-engage ourselves again and stop the fear. We've got to go on and live our lives and really look at what and who we are in America. We are the freedom people.
We are talking with Robert Caltabiano. He is a security expert, credentialed security expert, and we're talking about the events over the weekend. I'll remind you that our text feature is up and working. If you have the WDTK app, it's on there. If you don't have the app, you should. Go to your smartphone's app store and search WDTK, and you'll get that. It'll pop up, and then download it, open it up. Hit the icon in the upper left-hand corner, and the menu will drop down. Scroll down, and it'll come to a spot called Text John McCullough. That's me. It appears right here in my studio in real time on the screen, and at times I will use some questions brought in by the audience, and I will also respond to some of the good things and also some of the out-there things that I see on the screen. Again, search at WDTK and get that app. It's really a great app to have. Robert, Sharia law is being bantered around. There's already 80 Sharia courts in London or in Great Britain. And my contention is that Sharia law is absolutely incompatible with life as we know it and want to have it in the United States of America. Am I correct on that?
Well, I don't know right or wrong on that. What I know is that I love our Constitution and I love our way of life. And it is our way of life that has really helped the world. It's been doing that for over 200 years. And I think that we must keep that in mind each and every day, that, our way of life, the American way of life, our Constitution, what we stand for is worth fighting for. And each and every day, just by getting up and going to work, by doing that extra mile, by, saying hello to your law enforcement people, to the police officers, the firemen, is really pushing out the way that we should live and really embrace who we are. We're a country of laws, but we're also a country who really welcomes people that welcomes whom we are.
Friend of mine and I said hello to 3 officers of the law who were having lunch the other day and told them how much we appreciated what they were doing. One of the guys was a sergeant. Took me aside outside. We all kind of left together, sort of. And he said, I can't tell you how much we really appreciate that. It's so seldom that we are treated that way. Thank you very much again. Shook my hand, and he walked off. That is, improving that relationship between the people and law enforcement is really pretty close at the top of the list of things that we need to do in direct opposition to what's been happening lately. Am I correct?
I think what we're looking at is a change in the tide. And I think, what has happened down in Dallas with our police officers and throughout the country is that we're starting to, and I hope so, awakening to the fact is that, number one, our first responders, God bless them because we need them. Without them, we just have anarchy. And what you just said, by shaking that sergeant's hand, and to the young people out there, to your viewers, that's the right thing to do. That's the American thing to do, is to sit down. I remember President Reagan in his farewell address to the nation turned around and he spoke about that. He says, and tonight the talk begins at the dinner table, and to talk about how it is and what it is to be an American. And then he turned around, I'll never forget it. He said, and to the children out there, if your parents are not teaching you and talking to you about what it is to be an American, then you get them on that, because that would be a very American thing to do. And so today I say that to all your listeners, the same thing is, what does it mean to be an American?
Robert Caltabiano, thank you so much for being with us on such short notice. We really appreciate it. I'm sure we'll be talking again, and thank you again for your service to our great country.
Thank you, and God bless.
God bless you.